and welcome back to this last session of Day 2 of Learning Technology Autumn Forum. I will be your chair for this session, and for those of you who's been tuned in since the beginning, you will remember that we started on Tuesday morning with very high-level view of AI and its influence on the learning tech landscape. So taking this opportunity to invite you all to introduce yourself, where you are in the world. I think it's wonderful that you are such a multicultural audience. You're actually going to have a very multicultural panel today. And tell us as well what have really stuck with you since Tuesday. Key information, key sessions, maybe a nugget, something that you really want to build upon on your skills. So AI has really been dominating the landscape of the seminar. And I guess the question we're all asking ourselves, especially with so limited time in our hands to dig into such a wide topic, is what are we going to do to leverage the generative element of AI? And as we all know, one of the key elements of our learning mix in the corporate remain e-learning. It at the core of most organization learning strategies. And today, I am delighted to welcome Sven Becker and his colleague Amanda from IMC, who are going to explain the big changes when it comes to e-learning from inception of a program to its delivery. And they're also going to show us how it can be done well. Sven is an expert in user design in the context of learning, and Amanda is a product evangelist specializing in technology solutions. Last point before we get started, please can I encourage you to use the chat? Absolutely. But if you've got questions to the speakers, please use the question tabs. A little bit easier for me, but also you can all write the questions so I can see which one you really want us to address, and I will bring it first during the Q&A. And without further ado, I would like to turn over to Sven. Welcome.
Many
Sven.
thanks. Yeah, many thanks. It's great to speak here today to you. And yeah, let us rewrite the way we learn. This is what we want to look today on. So I think we can directly jump into, we'll have some presentation there, and later, Gail have already said, we want to make it a little bit more hands-on. So that means that my colleague Amanda will show you a solution from IMC, which we have developed based on the idea where we are all heading into it. But yeah, let me start. Fast and better, transforming your e-learning creation strategy. So once again, hi from my side. Gail have already told you I have a learning design background, and especially what for me is important, also a UX design background. So I'm looking always into new opportunities, how we can improve the steps we have with our learners. Perhaps learning is not the right way, because sometimes you have things that have to be trained, or sometimes you have to change processes. This is something where we're looking into. Sorry, I have to jump back on too fast. I want to show you one video about IMC that you get a little bit of glimpse on what we are doing. And then we directly jump into So what we're seeing here and what we have seen in the video, IMC was established 25 years ago. We're working globally. So that means our headquarters is in Germany, but we also have our offices in the US and London and Australia and so on. And we are full service provider. So that means we provide a learning management system. We provide also bespoke content. So we're an agency. And at the end, and this is what we are looking today on, we are also offering authoring solutions where we enable our customers to produce content strategies on their own. Here you see the full portfolio, but again, it's not totally about IMC today. It's more about our topic. So I directly jump in and give you a brief history and perhaps also a little bit a personal feeling I have seen in the couple of years I'm working in this field. So I started in the learning field 2007. And when we're looking at the history, it's important to understand where the web technologies are heading into, why it is important, especially when I'm looking into my field. When I was not at IMC, I was a web developer and looking into user experience design and UX design in the web technology. And it's what is interesting for me, and it's hard to say when I jump into the e-learning field. I'm wondering why the e-learning field is 10 years beyond the web technology market. So the e-learning market have talked a lot about, let me say, processes, EDI modules, how instructional design is working. That's right and that's good, but we don't have used at this time newer web technology. So, and this is also something what we have recognized, especially when I started in IMC, that the Web 2.0, the right thing was not bringing to the user. This was an interesting point for me because the user as a part of our training processes, as a producer at the end, is something what is deeply involved in web technologies and from the DNA from web. And now we're talking about the Web 3.0. This is a totally different direction where we go into decentralizations. And this is something what will affect us here in the e-learning market extremely strong in the next couple of years. And the idea is now when we're looking from Web 2.0 into Web 3.0, where we are heading into it. The past was a little bit more the experience economy. That means we have looked as a company when we're looking, for example, in the marketing field, how we can create the greatest experience around the user, how we help the user to consume more, how we push user to use products or to learn something. That's the idea where learning experience is coming from. But now there is a fast shift, and it is faster than we can see and than we can really feel. It is the creator community. And this is something what we have to bring in our strategies also, because with the creator community, you have one thing, this is special. The people are interested in their content. They want to create content and they want to go the path to be able to, they enable themselves to create content. And this is something what I want to reflect here, and also as IMC, we have reflected this in the last couple of years. But let me start a little bit from the history side. I think who is a little bit longer in the market knows this, that I think in 1990s already we have started with video cassettes. So VHS, you can buy them and you make some. There were training available already. Then the first CBTs, the computer-based trainings, comes on with CD-ROMs and such things. First WBT projects. Funny, IMC's first project was a WBT, a web-based training for Mercedes-Benz to explain to people what is a browser. That's really a great story. But everything was developed with a high effort. You need highly specialized people to create such training products. And then the market starts already with some ideas of structuring the production line. So there was an instructional designer, there's a motion designer, there's a visual designer, perhaps there is an audio designer, and so on. And then with the first crisis coming up, especially the financial crisis, there was a rising of new technologies, and this was authoring solutions. Especially the term, it's interesting when we're looking into today, the term rapid authoring came up. So the first tools were available where you have the possibility to only to convert at the end PowerPoint into some e-learning modules, into score modules or something else. So the first tools have the idea to make it easier and faster so that we don't need the agencies anymore. It was really a cost driver at the end. And so we want to internalize the production of e-learning. But perhaps it was a little bit too early. It was not really successful. After this area of rapid authoring tools, this learning experience gains a little bit. We have seen, okay, there was a lot of e-learning, but the people don't consume them. We thinking about strategies, how we can gain the retention user. And so better tools come on the market with more technology, with more possibilities, really great tools like Adobe or Articulate or also IMC. So there were great tools where you can really create experiences out of it. You don't need really for every product, you don't need to develop this with highly skilled people anymore. But it was interesting with this demand of this great tools and great functionalities. Again, we raised up in a situation where we need high skilled people in other direction, instructional design, for example, or people who have to use these authoring solutions and bringing every time to the next level. And mobile learning begins to gain more importance. And then in 2015, 2018, always before responsive training was a term, but then we have more the peak of really usage in responsive training. And there was an interesting discussion at this time I have seen, and this is the discussion between responsive training or responsive design and really responsive learning. What I mean is, when you're talking about responsive design, at the end, it is only a design discussion. And I mean a visual design discussion. When you're talking about responsive training, you bring in the area of UX design. And this is a totally different view. And when I mean responsive training, for example, then we had discussions like, do we need training? Again, or somebody is on the train and wants to learn. Is the training now responsive design for his mobile? Or perhaps he needs a podcast. He needs an audio. This is the idea of responsive training come up. And then it was really for me the first time that we have think in a sensible way about the learner and we have bring it in the middle. But then we know it, COVID came. And also before, the digitization have an extremely strong volume push. So we had a rise of digital training. We want to produce more. And with COVID, a special situation comes in, cheap and fast. It have to be available quickly, extremely quick. It have to be there directly. And with all the things we have built up, experience thinking, and we create the next metaverse and all the things, this is there we come into a problem, and this is time. Time to train is getting a value now. Before, the value was more how sophisticated we can create training. Now the value is also time to train. And this is something where we have to see how we handle with these things. The digitization rate is not stops. It is going up like before. And a new point comes in, decentralization will be getting more importance. But I will go to this a little bit later. What we're seeing is that the first wave we had in e-learning was really developed from instructional designers and for instructional designers. This was special. So we every functionality such a software vendor like IMC have bring into such a tool is always begins in the head of an instructional designer. And now with the raising up, we had a mind shift. We have to think in citizen developers. And what I mean with this, I will come later to it. So what is this change now we see? The main change we see and we have to fill is filling the dynamical gap. So that means with the rising up of training amounts we have and the need, we have to fill this. This comes from a special situation. What you see here is the so-called dilemma of adoption. So we have a rising up technology. That's only the view on digitalization, not the more possibilities in manufacturing, that we are more individualized or something else. So we had more need for training. And in the past, you see here technology rising up, and you see the adoption rate of other areas like individuals, businesses, and public policies. So until the 1990s, 2000, it was possible to fill the gap with training, and especially with training which was developed internally over an agency, so on a really high level. But now we are heading into a situation where we have, let me call it T2, so the former time view, where we cannot fill the gap anymore with our old paradigm. So we have to change this paradigm, and this gap will be getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. We see it already in nearly every customer, especially bigger customers. They're working globally. They have a bigger gap. And this is another point I want to give you why this gap is getting bigger. This has a little bit something to do with so-called composable architectures or composable enterprises. So companies are changing their approaches more into decentralizations. So we're seeing that global acting companies giving more autonomy into regions, countries, what else, so that they have more possibilities in their area, and they're cutting a little bit the headquarters away. So, and then in this point, you're raising up the decentralizations, and this is something what also raise up the training area. And the need is then, especially to fill this gap, is to shorten the time to train, because besides the raising up digitalization area, we have on the other side the point that the training times needs to shorten up, because we have too many changes in a too short frame. When you're looking in the logistics problems in the last years, we have now the next crisis we see in the Middle East, and this will change it again. So when we're looking on, we cannot think anymore in processes running in 2, 3, 5, or 10 years. So we're changing our enterprises, and this is a new time we're seeing. We're changing our enterprises nearly every 12 months now. In the past, especially when I'm looking into our dinosaurs companies in Germany, they're changing their companies every 10 years, and now they're going into 12 months. So the time to train have to be shortened, and there are different strategies we can go in. I want to show you some content sourcing strategies, and here are different types of so-called content sourcing strategies. I have only some examples. This is not fully built here, but we want to focus on one especially, and I want to give you some examples from other ones. So the one thing is learning curation. We can go over so-called standard content, off-the-shelf content. We have agency-based content, so I externalize my production of training, my consulting of training. I have an internal development department, or I go to the direction of employee-generated training. When we're looking at some parameters here, we can easily go through some ideas where we can go into which strategy. When we let me start with the agency-based content, because you see here mainly 3 stars. At the end, you have nearly every possibility to go to a great learning experience designer, a great company. They're creating you the best learning experience you can imagine. Also, IMC is doing this, and this is clearly everything is possible. But we also know this costs effort, resources, and especially it costs time. The agencies outside, they are not the subject matter experts. So they cannot bring directly the didactical approach on paper. They need the subject matter experts. They have to feel the company. They have to discuss about the target groups. So this needs time. Sure, there are more possibilities today. Also, when we're looking into artificial intelligence, for example, to make a target group analysis. But every company is different. That's the idea, the main idea behind why we make training. When not the companies are different, you can buy only off-the-shelf content. So this needs time and it costs money, that's clear. When we're jumping directly on the employee-generated training, this is a little bit different. The development time is much more shorter. And what is also interesting is we are much more closer to the business. So subject matter experts perhaps are the idea of by employee-generated training. And this is something what we want to focus now in the next couple of minutes. Employee-generated learning or training, or you can say user-generated content, which term, what else? It is not a new term, and it's not a new idea. Sure, it raised up with the idea of the creator community, but already Gartner have prognozed, I think it was 2016-17, that by 2018, more than 80% of the organizations will use user-generated content. And the interesting fact is, I believe that the number is much more higher, but we don't know that already a lot of training happens in the company on the user-generated content side. And the next interesting fact is, when you don't know it, then this is the most successful training you can have in the company. Because when somebody is consuming at the end training and don't have the feeling that this is training, then he have the most value outcome based on such trainings. That's an interesting fact we've seen by our customers currently, that we have a lot of running grassroots training principles and structures raising up, and especially in the time of COVID, this comes up that more and more departments are something like small L&D departments. But yeah, this is a little bit the other point. Employee-generated training. What this means? For me, I like the term of the citizen developer, and this is also something. I have given you this example with the web technology, and I like to look on different technologies and to see trends, and I try always to map this in our field, in our learning field. And when I map the web technology, I can go to the other side and can map the IT side, really deep tech. What happens on the IT side? And the IT side have a big problem. They have no resources. There are not developers anymore in the world. So not enough developers to fulfill the needs we have. What happens? There are companies like SAP, like Software AG or something else. They're creating now tools where the businesses can create software on their own, so-called low-codes. So you don't need a core developer anymore to create an application. You can create for your own business process in your department with the other software product. You can create a piece of software. And especially with generative AI, you can do it much more better in the future. And such developers are called a citizen developer. So in the businesses, they're sitting in the business. That's the idea behind citizen developer. And they're creating with low-code software products, they're creating content. At the end, it is content. And it's the same in our area. And then we see that there's a small organizational structure change when we're going into these employee-generated training, or we using our citizen developer. And the interesting thing is, we decentralize learning. In the past, or the couple of years ago, the idea was always to centralize everything. We have tried to have one learning management system, we have one database, we have one or two content providers, and we have tried over the L&D department to understand the whole company. A global acting company with a diverse product portfolio and a diverse service portfolio, at the end, it's not understandable, honestly. It is really hard to centralize learning and development. And now the idea is to decentralize again. Or not again, we need to think about in a composable enterprise to take out some areas and put it in the business again. And this means we take the idea of content generation, or also the learning processes, and put this into the businesses. So they're getting local executions. And the special thing is the learning and development department We see this now by a lot of customers. They are not anymore responsible for creating training. They are not responsible for the demand management. They are only enablers. So they consult and they deliver the framework. And this is something where we see the biggest shift in learning and development, that acting more as an enabler instead of a service department, only creating content, and have the switch always between content and SMEs development idea. So we're going more into the businesses and giving them more autonomy. And then the question comes up from our customers, when we have such a strategy and we saying we can really use citizen developer to create training. Is it possible that we can hand over everything to these departments? And it is easy to say no. We have to analyze, and now the demand comes in again. We have to analyze our training architecture. Our content architecture, so how our content house is looking, what is our things we have to deliver, and which one we can hand over, and by which one we can enable them to hand over them. There are existing different strategies. I like really easily a Boston Consulting Group strategy, where we're creating normally with our customers a matrix where we make an ABC analysis. So for example, we structure a training approach, training demand into the target groups, into the content complexity, and especially into the relevance so at the end, how many relevances have for the whole workforce or for the whole company. This is really now an easy picture. Normally, this is much more complex when we're going into consultants phase with our customers. But what it means is, at the end, you see then you have a square in the right left bottom side, and this can be this user generated content, employee generated training area, and there will be getting interesting how big this is in your company and how many autonomy you can give up. So, and this is the point when we have started roughly 4 years ago with this mindset, and we have seen that the market is changing. We have defined on our side, we need a solution for the market. We want to help the market, and honestly also to be opportunistic. We see there's a change, then we have to deliver a solution. But on the other side also, we believe in this change, and we believe in this structure, that this will stay also over years and years. You will have external agencies, you will have your internal production, but you will also have your user-generated content side, to deliver all the demands, to fulfill all the demands you have. And yeah, at the end, this is something, whether 80% and fast and 100% and slow, where we have to heed into. We have to understand that there is a market change, also a change in quality. It sounds hard, but with generative AI, for example, we don't believe anymore in 100 or 110%. We say 80% is okay, when it is much more faster. And this is also an approach which is new for the learning market, again, because we have come out of this instructional design approach, which always have a high quality approach, and now we're heading into 80%. That don't mean that it's bad. 80% can also be really good, especially when the value is time to train. So the time to train is shortened. So what at the end, when you're going into employee generated training approaches, what are your benefits? The one thing is really that the businesses understand their businesses. We as instructional designers are really great in transforming topics, ideas into great experiences, and they will be needed in the future. That's absolutely clear. For example, especially for change and culture trainings and such things. But when we're looking into product trainings, into competitive analysis, where I want to train my sales, etc., the people understand their people much more better. They know how they want to consume, because they consume on the same way. My most important thing is we can fostering the learning culture. So when we give people the power to produce content, they see that as their own learning culture. They starting in thinking and creating training, and then training will be getting more important. Sure, the productivity is extremely increased because you produce much more content than before, faster again. This is the same with stretch your L&D's department's capacity. This is something we're lacking a lot of people. And the knowledge will be much more easier to retain because you think in automatically in smaller modules, you think more in micro learning and in faster approaches. And this one is important. When we have started in thinking how we can give our customers a new solution, the first thing we have started with is reducing complexity, taking away everything you can imagine, and be focused on reducing complexity. So this is our first paradigm. We have started to create a new user-generated content tool, and this is IMC Express. IMC Express, there are 3 points again, which we have clearly said it will be getting successful for our customers. So they will getting successful with this tool based on 3 paradigms. The one is decentralization. So we have the clear focus on the target groups, the citizen developer. The citizen developer is our customer. The citizen developer is our producer, is our author, is our user. It is not an instructional designer. This is an important point because we're going then in the right field and in a total different field. The simplification, reducing complexity, will be the main point to use training to create training. Without motivation, with a lot of steps, with a lot of enabling needed, you will be not getting successful in employee-generated training. And on the other side, we have to think about how we can create a maximum support. Also when we have a simplified tool, perhaps the people are a little bit avoiding to create training. It's the first time. I'm no trainer. I have no background. And this is interesting. There we come in with simplifying life through AI. So what can we do to help the users to in every area in their creation field to make them such as much possible successful, like an instructional designer, for example. So to give them really the power to create highly engaging and experienced content. And I want to give you some other success metrics, how you can create or how you can implement such an employee-generated training approach. The one thing is we're facing a lot of prejudices. So this is something where you normally have to create a battle card. So we're creating with our customers, for example, a battle card. We're analyzing the possible target group and jumping in with different arguments and also building up a strategy based on this. I will not deeply this because we share the slides at the end, and you can have a look into this. What is more important is how we can find the right persons and how we measure the success. And this is in an employee-generated training approach much more important, the measuring of the success than by a normal or an existing learning, because we don't sure in existing learning on bespoke content, we also measuring the success, but here it is more measuring if the customer at the end, the learner, likes the idea of employee-generated training. So he have consumed it and he can say, yeah, I believe in this training and this is another approach and I like this approach. The other way of thinking is how we can help the employee-generated, this is the framework idea, to how we can help the employee-generated training people to create content, for example, on a regular basis, involve as much as possible departments. It's extremely important at the beginning to have a lot of motivated people, to have a more like a multiplication approach, so that the people are speaking about this new idea, and then they infecting other ones also to creating such trainings. So when we're going into simplifying life, this is a little bit also from the session, the idea what we are doing here in the AI field. It was really the idea to really use what currently is possible, and what is possible, what is workable, and usable for somebody who is not from the training field. There are easy things like I jump into. We can recognize images and can create automatically keywords. That sounds easy. It is a complex thing, but it's also a very helpful thing because we can connect picture databases. And the next step will be then that such a tool, which we have created with IMC Express, is able to fill the content automatically because it makes a semantic analysis of the content. And this is something what you already can use in today's AI world. The next thing, translation. The translations are nearly perfect today, and the translations happens in seconds. When you're thinking in the current e-learning production, how long you need to give this to the agency to translate this over your translate agency and so on and so on, we're talking about weeks, and now we're talking about seconds. The interesting thing is we also have something like a possibility to let the user not to change design. So the tool decides what you have to do. So this is also something where we're going in. Next step is the tool decides which didactical approach you have to do and giving some hints to change, for example, his content to make it more engaging for the user. And now we come in to the next step. This is now available. This is based on GPT, what we are doing here from the generative AI side. That sounds easy to not so crazy with subtitles, but Amanda will perhaps show it in a couple of minutes in the presentation. For me, this is the most impressive thing. I was my first time at IMC in 2007. I was responsible to create subtitles for videos. This was a pain in the ass. It was crazy. It was so many effort to create and synchronize such things. And now we are talking about seconds. And this is really, really good with the translation combination that we directly have translated the video in seconds. We can create automatically questions. So we make an analyzing of the content. GPT creates then some examples, and I can decide if I want this or I want to change this. We have the possibility to make summarizing so that we can say, hey, please make me an abstract for this training. So I have put in all my content, I have created my training, and then the tool can automatically create a summarize for me. We can also creating keywords, which is important to make a chapter structure. We can also continuing text. So that means I'm starting a text, and the tool recognizes in which topic, in which field you want to go into it. And then you can say, okay, I create an example for you. Or I can change already text in another text manner. So when I'm not a good text writer and I want to have a training in a more educated way, then the tool can rewrite my whole text without changing the sense of the text. Audio automatically and so on and so on. I jump a little bit over because I want to hand over to Amanda. Here you see some QR codes. Again, you will getting the slides later, but you can scan if you want now. The left side is a webinar from our side where you have a live discovery. You can look at the tool, and the other side you can directly test the tool. We're going now into a little bit of live session, a hands-on session that Amanda can show you, especially the AI fields in such a tool.
Thank you, Sven. I hope everyone can hear me, and really interesting questions in the chat. So I just want to dive right in because there are so many tools out there on the market at the moment, and we hear so much about AI. How is it really going to benefit us? How well does it work? Well, I hope I can give you a glimpse today of our tool, which we have spent a long time developing, as long as AI has been developing. But let me show you the benefits that Sven's already mentioned and what AI can really do at the moment, which could help either your content creation team or your citizen developers. So I'm going to jump right in. I hope you can see this. This is the tool. I'm going to create a new project quickly from scratch. Let me do this. Create. And it takes us into a project field. So whether I am a content creator or a a marketing person, this is the screen I'll see. It's super simple and looks very much like the tools we see and use in our everyday lives. And we've got lots of options to start creating our content. So text options, media options, the all important learner interactions. We have tools of importing content and some amazing AI capability. But I just wanted to go back to the main screen and show how fast this tool really is and how fast tools out there on the market are. So Sven talked about, freeing up that time to train. So we've really focused on speed in this tool. And I want to show you, if I, as a lowly marketing person, have created a piece of content, I would often do it in Word or PowerPoint. Here it is, a really simple document. And this is from a McKinsey article on digital transformation. So I've done this, but of course I have no learning knowledge, no learning experience as a citizen developer. Where's the questions? Where's the interactivity? So let's show how IMC Express can do that for us. And we can literally drag and drop that into the tool. And the tool picks up that content, including the images. You have complete control over the content. We can amend it, but let me show you instantly how the tool creates that into some accessible learning. We talked about design earlier, which is so important. And of course, if you're scaling your learning, letting other people do it, you don't want lots of different designs and different people's ideas. You want to keep it looking spot on with your corporate branding. You can do that within the tool. It will come with a theme. I have multiple themes. We automate 80% of that design work. We've applied that theme to the learning. So let's straight away preview it and see what this learning could look like from my very simple Word document. So here it is. Here's what it would look like on a desktop, and we could also show it on tablet or mobile. It's instantly responsive. And we literally play that learning. You won't be able to hear this right now, but we also have built into the tool an automatic text to speech engine, so they will automatically be audio generated. And it's picked up all the images we had in that learning, but you see the design and the theme is automatically applied. So we'll jump back to the beginning. So that's amazing. I have created an accessible learning in seconds from a Word document. So it's great to think about in your content creation strategy how that could benefit your team or people outside of your expert team. Sven also mentioned the language translation, which for me is the mind-blowing part of IMC Express. I'm based in London, but we have a global team. So my work here is created in English, but what if I have a global team or global learners? I can literally add languages at a click. I have over 70 languages to choose from. I'm going to add French here and apply that to this learning. And we can see straight away the French document is translated. This is AI translation, so it's great to get a native speaker to check it. And that document will be translated both in the text and in the audio. And you can see it there, all in French. And the most exciting thing for me is the fact that the learner gets to choose which language they want to learn in. So if you have multiple languages in there, the learner can choose which one they want to learn in. So Sven also mentioned video subtitles. I know you can't see me right now, but unfortunately you're about to see me. So I'm going to switch back to English, and I'm going to show you how we import a video into this document. And this is a video I did earlier. Let's drop it in. Might take a little while to pick up. I literally filmed this in the office earlier. There is audio and there are no subtitles, and literally to generate the subtitles, I go into the video and the AI will generate it for me. So as you can see, even as a non-learning expert, I can generate really accessible content at speed. Just to quickly, because I know there's lots of questions in the chats, the AI, as you've seen, is very built in. You can't see it working, you just feel the benefits. But we also have AI, a more traditional form that you can see here, and that is things like the text transformation. I find I've been using ChatGPT since the day it launched, and I find sometimes the hardest thing with AI and ChatGPT is knowing what to ask it to achieve results. But here we've spoken to our customers and our content creators and come up with some of the options that we know are most important. Things like simplifying text. You can also expand the text if you're not writing a lot, which is never my problem. You can expand it. You can create different tones of voice, so funny or educational. I'm just going to show you here how fast it works. So I'll simplify this text and it will work away, and it will give you the options to either ignore the suggestion or add the suggestion as an additional piece of content, or replace the previous suggestion. So I'll just replace it. So we have an amazing piece of content. I'll show you again in a second what it looks like. But you'll say to me, so where are the learning elements? So as you saw earlier, we can add lots of learner interactions. And if you're an expert in your team, you will know exactly what to do, which questions to add, where to add flip cards and hotspots. But if you're not an expert, or you need to work at hyper speed, the AI within IMC Express can do this for you. And I'm just going to show you a really simple idea here. As Sven mentioned, we can create summaries with AI, key points, we can add quotes, we can create flip cards, but I'm just going to show you how fast these things work by adding a question. So it's going to scan the document and come up with a question for us with ChatGPT. It will also give us the right answer to that question. So really, if you're not a learning expert, you can take your knowledge and have it converted into a learning experience really quickly. So it's just working away. Hopefully it won't be too long. Here we go. Great question. This would have taken me a long time to think about what question to ask, what the right answers would be, and it's immediately done it for us. Absolutely mind-blowing, the speed of AI these days, and we really feel like we've put it in this tool in the right way. So I'm adding that question, and I could preview now, but I really would just want to quickly go and show you it's just as fast to be able to publish this content. So I'm just going to flick back to the home screen to hopefully give it time to publish it. So here, I won't terrorize you with my video, but to publish it is just as fast. So we can now export this content, which 5 minutes ago was a Word document. We can publish it as a SCORM file, as SCORM files. We can download HTML web files, and we could also instantly publish it as a website. And I'm going to show you how that's done through a demo link. And you can also get your mobile phones ready, because I can publish this with a QR code, which I'm going to do now, for you to share. So you can share things instantly. The world is moving so fast, and there are things we need to know about so fast. And the pressures on training and the time to getting training to market are ever increasing. And everything about IMC Express is about speed. And there's your QR code if you want to grab that. And I'm just going to open the link here too to show you. And here is our content available in English and French. Audio is there, video is there with the subtitles. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to stop this video now and hand back to Sven and the team for your questions. Thanks very much.
Wow. Thank you very much. That is quite an impressive technology. We've got a lot of questions. I've got quite a few on my own, but I will prioritize the one from the audience. Whenever you're ready, wonderful. Thank you. Welcome back, Zen and Amanda. It's lovely to see you. We've got, as Amanda said, a lot of questions, and we only have 11 minutes. I will just take the question in the order that they've been rated by the participants. I think it is fair. It's a democratic way to tackle the challenge. The very first question is from Claire. She says, and somehow I was actually asking myself a similar questions. Do you think there is sometimes too much focus on the technology or chasing the trend rather than ensuring the content is fit for purpose, measure, and impactful? So how do we ensure that there is a clear objectives to any of those learnings?
Yeah, that's at the end what I meant with creating such a content architecture framework. Sure, we're seeing here one tool, and this is also the answer: is this tool able to create every training? No. And also a job aid can be a great training purpose tools. So at the end, I like this. Something perhaps somebody wants to contact me over the platform. I can share this then. I like a project we have done with a German company. At the end, we have created 74 different learning formats. And we have bring them in a sensible way to the people with a little bit like a calculator to give them an idea which training format and which idea and also at which time and for which person you have to create. It is not, and that's really important, it is not about the technology, but the technology in certain cases can be an enabler. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, then. Amanda, anything to add? Thank you, Claire, for your questions. I'm going to move on to one that also I think echoes to quite a lot of us, which is from Naomi. And she said, how are people incentivized to create content on top of their regular task? And I'm sure there's a lot of subject matters in organizations that's already flat out. And now we have to tell them, well, on top of everything, now you're going to work on learning. How is it received? Is there special cultures where it works better? Please tell us a little bit more.
I only give you one hint here, and this is, I don't answer the question, sorry, but I like this approach. Take always your hardest competitor in your company. Take somebody who you absolutely believe you will not bring this person to training or to create training, because he is the loudest one or she is the loudest one. And we know that we cannot turn this person into a training producer. And then you have to change this person. And then all the other ones thinking, okay, when he or she is doing this, then everybody have to do this. So this is an interesting culture approach I have seen by one car manufacturer. This is interesting. That's really an interesting point. But on the other side, to be honest, you have to give the people the time for doing this. Yeah. Also, learning culture is an organizational thing. This have to become from the management. The management have to be clear that we want to do this. And then you have to reserve time for these things. And when you don't do this and put this on top, this will be not getting successful.
And have you seen some incentives to actually do it, like beyond the culture, like some form of reward or acknowledgement of the work? Is it, this kind of thing that normally is conducive of results?
We already seen, especially in so-called learning circles at customers, that they're creating the incentives more in a way that you have the possibility to connect with different departments and to connect with different persons in the company. And then you have the possibility to go on a learning day or something else. So that is really that everybody sees that this learning also have an impact on my professional, but only on my connected life in the company. But what I'm personally see as really as a possible and a positive thing. I see this a lot by Microsoft, for example. So by such companies like Microsoft, they have really global learning days. They're putting down the whole company for one day and learning together. It's a little bit like learning hackathon. This is something but fostering the culture enormously.
Fascinating. So absolutely, a learning cultures, developing and growing learning mindset is ideal in, for this kind of user generated content. And I've got, well, Stephen has asked a lot of very good questions. But the top one so far is, how do you effectively and efficiently moderate user generating training using a thorough QC and QA process, just quality, focusing on quality? I think you touch on it, Sven, in your presentation, but maybe you can give us a quick recap.
There's not an easy answer because it's really different from customer to customer. At the end, it's also different what we see from country to country, honestly.
Okay.
When we're looking into the Asia region, there is the idea of quality is always 110%. And perhaps in other regions, and I don't want to name the countries now, 80% is enough, and they don't have this quality assurance problems. But yeah, at the end, there is a possibility from a technology side. So we have it in our tool, but mainly it happens in a learning management system that the people really have there and a quality assurance approach. And this, but what as a trend, this is more what I see, is that the quality assurance comes more from an SME side instead from a learning and development side. So it goes not into a quality assurance in a didactical approach, and is this the right corporate design or something else. When we're going in this direction, we see that employee-generated training is not so successful because then it needs too much time to roll out. It is more that the quality assurance is that perhaps the supervisor make a proofread or something else.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sven. I actually have a question that I'm going to branch out, but it's a little bit around that topic of quality. Is how is the content evaluated? So how is the content monitored? The usage of the content as well? Is there like system in places to say, oh, well, that was, what Stephen did was very good, or Claire did very good, or, how is it monitored?
Yeah, so the best case when you want to measure these things is, but this is also honestly with the highest effort, is to make A/B testing. So you're going into existing trainings and you split the target groups, and you're looking at the end on the value, the results, and the NPS. Normally you have an NPS score from the user, but with different training approaches. So highly effort into a high big training, highly sophisticated, what else? And then you have an employee generated training. And then you have, normally when you have the possibility to go in such A/B testings, you always have the same result. Sure, the employee generated training perhaps have not the highest NPS score, but from when you're going into a Kirkpatrick model over time, and then you see it has the same impact like the other training. And then with not the highest NPS score, this is again, we have to look in our content architecture, how we can gain the retention of the user with other motivated trainings, for example. This is now exploding the time a little bit, but at the end, A/B testing would be the perfect way when we can do this. Then we're seeing directly the differences between these both training types.
Great. Thank you so much. And actually branching out a little bit, a questions from Liliana, who asked, and I think it's a question that I've seen repeatedly through the different sessions. So when we use AI, how do we monitor the copyright element of it and the validity of the content that is generated? Do you have an answer within your tool? How do you police this element?
So I have no answer now, but I have the answer tomorrow. So that's not really a discussion anymore because Microsoft now offers with the Microsoft Azure services something like a closed job, and also when they are ready, we're jumping directly on. At this point, the content is in Microsoft Azure AI. And so in GPT, and also GPT is learning on this. But this is really I would say a problem in a couple of weeks and not in a couple of years. So this is Microsoft already announced this, that we can go into such closed jobs, and then we will use this also. It's a little bit like a caching. So at the end, we put in our data, and the model learns a short time and then throws the content away. So that's the idea, and this is something what we then also will use here. But another point, we're stretching the time. Sorry, let me say one thing.
Go for it.
Another point that we are seeing, this will be getting interesting, that more and more customers are using their own models. So this is something where we also have to change our approach, that we have to jump into their existing models. So bigger customers now train their own GPTs, for example. So this is then at the end something like offline GPT, and they put this on their SharePoint or something else, and analyzing the existing materials in the company. And this will be getting extremely interesting because we have then the data from the company.
Excellent. Amanda, would you like to add something? Sorry, I can see that.
No, I was just agreeing, and it just amazes me the speed of AI and the development in technology.
And as Eagle said this morning in the first session, we all at the beginning of it, even some people speaks with more confidence about it. I think we're all facing the same challenges, and we can all learn from each other. Actually, branching out on a couple of comments and questions that have come up. We're looking at collaboration here, and how do we ensure that actually this thinking, and I think that's a question from Edwin, this thinking using subject matter experts within the organizations bring up collaboration rather than silo thinking.
And this is the good question. When we're looking into the first question, is technology the answer? And it is mainly not. It is mainly frameworks and cultures. And this should be also something where we should start. That we bring subject matter experts in new ideas of new learning formats. And learning formats, I don't mean now technology or e-learning ones. It is really that they understand that they are an integral part of the learning culture and of the organizational culture, and we need them to push the company into the next level. And this is something what you really need, a framework for learning cultures. A good way what we, for example, offers always our customers, or what we're helping them, is going into a cohort learning approach. Because with cohort learning, you have really a highly interactive module between different people, and can really integrate them on a low level. That's always successful.
Thank you so much, Sven and Amanda. Thank you so much for also our brilliant audience who asked so many very powerful questions. You've been wonderful to work with this afternoon. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and I think I've overrun a little bit, which is frowned upon. So my apology. What do you expect from French Share? I don't know. Definitely not to run on time. Next session is next Tuesday. It's 5 examples on how of how L&D can become embedded into organizations, and no doubt it's going to be brilliant sessions with Nigel Payne and Teresa Rose. So one not to miss it. So Tuesday, 10 a.m. UK time, 11 a.m. European time. Once again, a huge thank you to you both, Sven and Amanda. And please feel free to be in touch with Sven and Amanda. You're going to find, I'm sure, your LinkedIn contact on the page. If you have follow-up questions, the recording will be available tomorrow. And I believe we are also going to share a PDF of the slides during the course of tomorrow or by Monday latest. And we're nearing the end of the week. Enjoy hopefully a nice weekend very shortly. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Many thanks.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Gerd.